It's actually, look at me, that way. It's that way. Where are we? 4th and I.
Is that?
Yeah, but go left here.
So
I was too successful at not giving you directions.
I have no idea where I am.
I'm going to keep these glasses on for a few minutes till I get us where we need to go.
What I love about these is I mean, each one is a story in and of itself, even though they're, what, 400 words or so, each one?
Yeah, 400, between 400 and 450 words.
So you know, they're sort of like bite-sized morsels, and as you turn the page, you get a whole new story.
Well, that's right. And in my National Journal days, I wrote long. Our White House correspondent, Alexis Simoninger, still teases me about my 1,100-word leads. But these had to be the whole story, beginning, middle, and end in 450 words.
Are there any favorites that sort of stick out that...
Well, you know, Tom, you and I, between the two of us, have, you know...
I was going to say, I understand there are 365
children.
They're all children.
You can't...
You love them all.
But favorites, yeah, here's one. John Peter Zenger, Freedom of the Press. So here's a case, famous libel. He's sued for a libel. The British Crown sent over, this is before we were a country, sent over a guy to be governor. So he's an immigrant, but not really an immigrant. He's more like a diplomat. He comes over and he, by the way, you can't write anything bad about him in the press. It's libel per se. Well, John Peter Zenger does it. He's an immigrant, German. And he gets arrested. They lock him up, sue him in court. A third immigrant enters our story. He's from Scotland. He's the lawyer of John Peter Zenger, and basically he goes for jury nullification and gets it. And in those days, libel, all you had to prove was that the guy wrote it. John Peter Zenger came into trial in court, apologized to his readers, not for his libel, for missing one edition of the paper. He managed to put it out in jail. Jury nullified, and the jury said, no, you can write about government. And that's how freedom of the press predates the existence of the country. In fact, it helps bring the country into existence. So that was one of my favorites.
Tokyo Rose was one that was one of my favorites. And that was something that I didn't know and learned. And
Tokyo Rose, yeah, she's, to this day, Americans of a certain generation, it's synonymous with being a traitor.
Right.
With forsaking your country. She was actually... Japanese American born, Japanese American living in California, Christian, Girl Scout, student, studying nursing. Her parents thought in the 30s it would be good for her to go back to Japan because her ailing aunt to take care of her. She stuck there during World War II and is kicked out of her house where she's staying with her aunt and uncle for expressing pro-American thoughts. And then so she won't starve, she goes to work at the radio station. She signals to the GIs. The GIs didn't think she didn't lower morale. She said over-the-top ridiculous stuff that they knew was wrong. It was a signal to a lot of them over there, the POWs, that she was not, the Japanese propaganda was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And she was, well, you talk about a quiet hero. She comes back here after the war and they send her to prison. There's a trial, all-white jury sends her to prison. She gets out. She lost her husband. She had this terrible life. Her dad died before she could get pardoned, but Jerry Ford finally did the right thing and pardoned her.
Mm-hmm. So I have to admit that I did flip ahead to my birthday to see what you wrote about for the day, April 3rd. Do you remember?
No. Do you?
Yeah.
What was it?
Martin Luther King.
Oh. There you go.
Yeah. It was a good one. Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was the day before he was assassinated.
That's right.
And he was talking about...
I've been to the mountaintop.
Been to the mountaintop.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his mortality as if he sort of knew the end was near, which was a little disturbing, but yeah, that's another fun thing that people can do is flip ahead to the dates that mean something to them and see what happened on that day in history.
Right. I don't write much about Donald Trump in this book, but...
You do mention, you have a couple of oblique references to Trump. One of these is about the origins of reality TV, which I thought was...
well, that's a fun one.
That is a fun one.
Yeah, right. But, yeah, and the idea that, when Ronald Reagan ran for president, boy, Democrats had fun with that. B-movie actor, they'd say, as a slur, which wasn't even really accurate. He'd been a fine movie actor. He'd been in what were then called B-list pictures and A-list pictures. And he'd been an accomplished person in Hollywood. But this guy, he was a reality TV host on a show where he fired people. And his campaign is based on that he'll bring manufacturing jobs back. It's a kind of, irony is too mild a word for it. It's like an O. Henry story. And now he's president.